Hello, how you doing? How you been? All of that good stuff. Listen, I wanted to come and share with you a message. It's multi-layered that God has given me. I was trying to find some scripture for one part of it, but I did not find it. Maybe at a later date I will post it. I ain't gonna say exactly that I will, but I'll try to find it a little bit later. But I want to go ahead and give it as I remember it before I get this day rolling and myself is doing too much. So, um, looking at the birds. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, hey, I said it already. Okay, so, um, this message is very layered. Okay, but if you're able to keep up with what I'm saying, you'll get some good stuff from it. Okay. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is the bond. This, yes, is going to looking at the wheel of time, right? So this morning, as I was talking and worshiping with God, right, um, He brought to my attention the bond. And when you watch Wheel of Time, if you're not into fantasy type TV shows or stuff like that, you're not gonna want to watch it. Also, if you're not into watching stuff that deals with um witchcraft, because there was some, of course, in the movies about witches and sorcery and all this other stuff, you're not going to want to watch it. But I watched it. I'm into fantasy movies, okay? And so in the TV show or in the series, there's a bond that transpires between two individuals. In one incident in the movie, I believe there was a situation where there was a three-part bond, it seemed like, but I'll have to go back through the movie and watch that. But what God brought to my attention concerning the bond, right? In this next season, we're really going to have to take even deeper inventory of not only who we're bonded to, but what we're bonded to. If you watch the show, but you don't have to, because I'm about to tell you what I gathered from it, and that'll go with the message, right? In the show, right, the bond between the Aes Sedai and the water. I just discovered that the men were called waters. I don't recall hearing that in the show, but I looked it up. I was able to find that quicker than that Bible verse, which is crazy. But the men were called water. So the Aes Sedai were the women who had all of these gifts. They were either able to heal, they were able to do a lot of different things through channeling, right? And so they would bond with a water. And the things that were highlighted to me were, one, choosing well, right? Knowing who to bond to, right? Because the waters were seen as men that, yes, they would protect them, but they could feel the Aes Sedai, right? The bond between the two of them was so strong that they could literally feel the Aes Sedai. They could feel when the Aes Sedai was stressed, when the Aes Sedai was hurt, when the Aes Sedai needed protection, or when the Aes Sedai needed covering. They were so bonded to this Aes Sedai, right? To their partner. And not all of them had like a intimate relationship, but they were so connected, right? They were so well bonded that they could literally feel the other person, right? And so I put down choose well. I also wrote who's covering you, right? Because if you have a weak bond, which I don't recall, it does show in different variations when the bond became weak between the Aes Sedai and the water in season 3. I did see some of that in the show. But who's covering you, right? If you're being covered by someone who you have a weak bond with, whether that's male or females, oftentimes in society today, we feel like sometimes it's only the man's job to cover or to protect the woman, but the woman is also supposed to cover and protect her mate, okay? And so who's covering you? I also put, can you feel me, right? Can you feel me? Then I put they were my protector and friend, right? The bond between the two, they were a protector and a friend. You will see sometimes throughout the show where the male, he would be sitting down talking to the Aes Sedai about the different things that she was going through, right? Because the Aes Sedai was the one who was able to channel and do all of these different things. The water also had a gift, but it was mainly protecting, right? They had their own gifts, but their gifts were not as strong as the woman's gift, okay? And so I put my protector and friend. And then I also noted worth fighting for two warriors. So another thing about the water that was very interesting when I looked up trying to figure out what the male was called in the bonded pair, right? They're called waters. But when you look up what the Google says about it, they call them a bodyguard and protector, but they also highlighted how the water, the male, nurtures the bond. And so it's funny because in society today, we talk about how women are more nurturing, right? It's the woman that's more nurturing than the man. But when I looked up water and it said that the men were nurturing, and then I looked up, okay, well, what is it, right? Nurturing is caring for the growth, right? Encouraging the growth. So you're caring for and you're also encouraging the growth. When we look at men in relationships, what are they typically doing? They might not nurture in the same way that a woman nurtures, right? Because a woman's nurturing ability is typically looked at more so in relationship to the child, right? In relationship to the children that they have or other people's children, or just how she shows up and loves her mate, her partner, right? But it was very interesting that the water was also described as a nurturer, okay? So they nurtured the bond or the growth. They encouraged the growth of the Aes Sedai. And just like in relationships today, well, we'll get to that later. But in relationships, right, men nurture in the way that they encourage the growth of their partner when they're truly invested or bonded in a healthy and good way, right? You'll see unhealthy partners, whether male or female, and they are not nurturing their partner. They're trying to withdraw and drain them and keep them in a space where they're not growing or they're not caring for them properly, right? That's a immediate red flag, but it's also a sign to know that this person that you're with is not going to be a great person to have that lasting bond with, right? When the Aes Sedai would bond with their waters, only the Aes Sedai could disconnect the bond. Only the woman could disconnect the bond. And so it's important that we choose well, okay? It's important that we choose well and that we know who we have that's covering us, okay? And we want to be bonded or partnered or in community with people that can nurture us, where they encourage our growth, they care for us, and they make sure that we are protected, right? So then God also started talking to me about the worshiper. Um, it's a part in the Bible. I was not able to find the exact section where I recall reading something similar about, okay? But there's a part in the Bible where it talks about before the battle, um the positioning of the different parts of the battle, right? They will have the worshipers out in front. They will have the worshipers in front. So the worshipers, right, would be out in front, basically praising, setting the atmosphere for the battle. And so the worshipers went ahead of the army. It was sound. It was sound that let the opposing army know the battle was approaching. Music is a form of battle. When we think about the setup of church, okay? When we think about the setup of church, typically church is started off with what? Praise and worship. Church is started off with praise and worship, okay? And typically when you look at Moses' time in the wilderness, right, he took a tent with him to ensure he called it the tent of meeting. And in it, he would keep this fire going so that when people wanted to go and speak to God, they had a place where they could go and they had direct access to God. We have established churches in a way to where the our pastors have become this middleman, and where's the direct connect to God, right? However, we have still set it up as a place of battle, not fully realizing that, right? Because is um sound is important. Worship is important. Okay? Music is a form of battle. Okay? It's a form of battle. And we think about the music today, or the music prior. Music has been used in so many manipulative and deceitful ways, right? But music has also played a heavy role in the manipulation of the minds and um the behaviors of people, right? For instance, I'll give you an example for myself, okay? When I have been in situations dealing with people indirectly, right? Because most of these interactions that I'm about to mention have been indirectly, right? And so when I'm in spaces and whatever spirit is rattled because of me entering the space, or because of me being close, or because of me being in their earshot, right? They have all of these things that they want to say. They have all of these things that they want to do. It's an old song. What up, T.I.? It's an old song by T.I., okay? And the song is called Motivation. And yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, okay? I believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, okay? But when I get in those moments, okay, where these people be coming around me doing stupid stuff, that song Motivation, it do something for me, okay? It do something for me, and I play it. I play it. Why? Because you're not going to try to unnerve me because you're uncomfortable with who I am, okay? So your hate is going to motivate me. Shout out to T.I. for that. Your hate is going to motivate me because it's not going to break me, okay? You understand? So music can be a form of motivation, but it can also be a form of battle, right? It's a form of battle, okay? And so that is not a worship song. I'm just giving you an example of different music, right? I'm a believer of God. I could have gave you a Christian song. I gave you a rap song because in that mindset, in that space, in that energy that people like to bring around me, trying to shift the energy that I naturally come with, they bring in smoke. If you listen to the song, I ain't saying you should, but I'm just saying if you do, that's a song that is talking about smoke, okay? I don't know if you done heard it or not. I didn't listen to it a few times, and if you follow my life, you done probably heard it whether you wanted to or not. The song is talking about bringing the smoke, okay? That man said he 5'9", but he feel like he's 6'4" when he'll take on 4 of you, okay? What do you mean? It's motivation. Nah, but anyway, listen. So in a tent of meeting dealing with Moses when he had the Israelites in the wilderness and he had freed them from their bondage with Pharaoh, okay? He kept this tent a meeting. So a steady access point for God. It was hot with praise and with worship. There's supposed to be someone always at the tent of meeting. And what is the temple? What is the church house? What should it be? It should be a tent of meeting where people can go and have a direct access to where God is, right? And so there needs to be somebody in the churches on these altars keeping the fire going, okay? We need to keep the fire going in these churches that are truly and genuinely sold out for Christ, okay? We know there are some leaders that are tainted. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, and you can tell them by their fruits because they look more like the world. Some of them are starting to look more and more effeminate for some odd reason. However, you can tell which ones are the wolves, right? Because they look like the world in the church. Okay. Another thing, the war or battle is at the altar. The war or battle is at the altar. We're to cast our cares on God. There's a Psalms that talks about shooting your arrows, right? Yes, the enemy shoots arrows, believers shoot arrows, okay? The enemy shoots arrows, believers shoot arrows. And one way that we can do that is through praise. Why? Because praise confuses the enemy. Can you imagine being attacked or somebody coming up to you? I don't have to do it myself sometimes when I have not switched to my motivational track and I want something else. Yes, praise confuses the enemy, okay? Praise confuses the enemy. And so prayer changes things also, okay? When we are able to be at the altar, right? Let's say you're going to church, right? I won't get onto that yet because I'm coming to that next. So prayer changes things. The middleman is removed. Okay? The middleman is removed. You get direct access to God. God wants an intimate relationship. He wants direct intimacy with you as the believer, as an individual. God wants direct intimacy with you, his children. He wants a direct relationship with you. Okay? A lot of stuff going on my thing right now. All right, so the next one that I had that was given to me this morning is the temple. What is the temple? The temple is our house. What's our house? Our body. We think that our homes are our house. And yes, they are a form of our home, right? But ultimately, we are spirit. And our house is our temple, which is our body. This vessel that our spirit, excuse me, that our spirit is housed in. This is our temple, and we have to take care of it, okay? And so the temple should be a house of prayer. So just like the church is a temple and it needs to be a house of prayer, our body should be a house of prayer, right? We should be praying and speaking and talking to God and praying throughout our day and worshiping throughout our day and all of these different things, okay? What are you doing with your church? Okay, what are you doing with your church? What are you doing with your body? It's a sacred place. Okay, so what are you doing with your church? What are you doing with your body? They are both a sacred place. Then I have Nineveh. I know this one was for me, but I'm gonna share it with y'all because maybe it's for you too, especially if you know you are a person striving to be righteous, striving to do the right thing, striving to love good and hate wicked, striving to be good and not evil, right? This is going to apply to you in some type of way, right? So back to the Wheel of Time. When you look at the Wheel of Time and the wisdom, who was Nineveh. Now, mind you, she was also the strongest channeler seen in years. She was a wisdom. Remember, there's a wisdom in the word, right? She was a wisdom, but she was also the strongest channeler in years that had been seen, okay? And so she almost died. This is what I wrote. She almost died because she was too busy trying to see the good in a person who chose to work for the dark side. Fortunately for her, God used the situation for her good. Sometimes we as believers, I know me. That's why I said this definitely applies to me. I know me. Sometimes we as believers, we get so caught up in trying to see the good instead of accepting the fruit as it is in that moment. And we don't understand that our lives are an example to people. Am I saying to not see the good in people? No, I'm not. But I am saying to accept people as they are. To accept people as they are. Their beliefs are going to be their beliefs. I talked about that the other day when I did Evil Influences Part 2. Our beliefs are between us and God, right? Our beliefs are between us and God. We aren't even really supposed to always be talking about them. However, our beliefs are between me and God. We have to accept people as they are. Sometimes we can spend so much energy, so much effort in trying to change people. instead of just accepting them as they are. Nineveh was really trying to talk to this person who she knew was wicked. She knew the person was wicked. And God tells us to be ye separate from these people. It tells us that we have to purge the evil from this world. We have to purge the evil out. But Nineveh spent her time trying to convince this woman, this person, right? Regardless if it's a male or female. She was spending her energy trying to convince this woman that she knew there was some good still in her. And there very well may be some good in her, but that wasn't the moment to try to bring it out, knowing that the lady was coming for her, um, trying to do some wicked and deceptive things, right? So that's a note that not only I can definitely utilize, but maybe some of you out there who are striving to be righteous, who are striving to do good and not evil, right? To be good and not wicked. Maybe that can help you, right? In this season that we're in, how the world is today, we don't have a lot of time to try and sit here and change people. We just have to be the example, but we also have to take note of what side a person has chose. If this person has chosen to be wicked and do wicked things only by them deciding that they want different, are they going to change? And two, witnessing your life and how you live could spark their desire to want change, right? But it's not our job to sit here and try to convince them to change. We can speak and share the word of God all day, right? But ultimately the person, the people have to decide and determine that yes, we're going to serve God. No, we're not going to serve God. That's the individual's ultimate decision. But in this time, in this season, we don't got a lot of time to try to overly convince somebody that Jesus is the way, right? That's not what we're doing. We don't have time to overly convince somebody that Jesus is the way. It's one thing you just met a person, you want to speak and share the word of God with them. Cool, let it marinate on them. Let it marinate. If they sitting there and they're like, no, God, no, I'm not ready yet. Okay, cool. Accept that. Accept it. Because she could have drowned if her gifts did not fully activate in that moment. She would have drowned trying to convince this person that she was good, and she used an evil act trying to take her life. Does that mean run? Because she didn't run in the instant. She just was using the wrong things in the moment. She was over there trying to preach to her about coming back to being good when she should have just been like prepared to fight, because she was out there on a mission. Her mission was to keep and maintain the bracelet or whatever it was she had in that scene, and she spent her time knowing that she was going to have to fight this lady. Instead of just being prepared whether she was ready to use her gifts or not, she was over there trying to convince her to be good so she wouldn't have to fight or use her gifts. That was the wrong that is not the right time. In battle, it's not the moment to be trying to convince people that you chose wrong. That's not the right time when we're in battle. No. Okay? We're not going to do that. I said we, because me and you, if you're a good person, when we're in the midst of battle, that ain't our time to be trying to convince somebody you chose wrong. Okay? At that point, they just got to find out. Okay? Anyway, what else did I put? Grace for the blind. Okay? Grace for the blind. Now hear me, okay? Because of the persecution, because of the different things that I've experienced in my wildernesses, in my time of isolation or separation, right? I do genuinely believe that people know what they're doing. I genuinely believe that. However, this morning, I was reminded that even the Father had grace for the blind. Hear me. Hear me. Jesus knew that he came back here for a mission, okay? Jesus knew that he was here on a mission to get the the people that God had put in his tutelage. I think I'm using that word correctly. If I'm not, let me give you another one. Jesus, a simpler one. Jesus knew that he was coming back here to round up the sheep that God had left in his care, right? Uh, he knew that, right? So his mission was focused on that and that alone. His mission was, God, I'm going to pray and I'm going to cover those that you have left in my care. That's it. His mission was not, God, I'm going to pray for the world. He did not pray for the world. Okay? He did not pray for the world. And a lot of people say, oh, God doesn't want any to be lost. He don't want any of his to be lost. Jesus knew and understood that all would not be saved. But he knew that there was his kids, his children that were out there that he had to round up. A lot of us as believers, sometimes we get so caught up in it, we got to save everybody. If Jesus didn't pray for the world, who are you? Jesus didn't pray for the world. Who are you? He prayed for the people that he knew God had assigned to him. Some of us sometimes, and I'm including myself in this, some of us sometimes we get so caught up in the grandiose things, right? Because everybody is so sold out on, oh, we got to be extra, we got to be dramatic, we got to do all of these different things because, well, that's how you get seen, right? That's how you get influenced. You got to be the most extreme, the wildest. You got to have the most filled out church, even though if half of them witches and you know it, but your seats is filled up. You don't care if half of the congregation is a witch. Your pews is filled. I know I butchered those. Listen, tongue twister. Leave me alone. Listen, okay? We are to pray for those that God has left in our care, under our assignment, okay? Everything else is beyond us, okay? Everything else is beyond us. We can leave that to the good Lord, okay? But Jesus prayed for those who were left in his care. Now, understanding that, right? He also had grace when he was on the cross. Why? Because he understood that even on his mission to round up his children, that not everybody had sight to be able to even see who he was. He had grace for the blind. He knew that they could not see who he was. He knew that they didn't understand the magnitude of what they were doing because he understood that they could not see. That did something to me this morning, because there are a lot of people who know exactly what they're doing. Hear me. There are people who know exactly what they're doing, but there are also people who know not what they're doing. And God had to have a heart to have grace for the blind, because he knew from jump that there were going to be people who could not see him. There was grace for the blind. What am I saying here? What am I saying? What am I saying? How can I wrap this up or sum all of this up? In this next season, if you're called to marriage and you're about to be married or whatever the case may be, right? If you're called to establish community, whatever the case may be, who are you bonded to? Can they cover you? Do they nurture you? Can they see you? Can they feel you? Who are you bonded to? Let me go back. The worshiper, okay? The worshiper leads the battle. Leads the battle. It was sound that went ahead of the army to know that the battle or the war, the army was approaching. It was sound that went ahead. Be mindful of your bonds. Be mindful of the sound that you are making to let the devil know, to let the enemy know you are declaring war. It was sound. Praise, okay? Then we have to keep the fire going in the altars at the churches. There needs to be a steady access point for God to be present here, okay? There needs to be somebody at y'all churches every day. Every day. There needs to be somebody at the churches where the doors are open. Some of y'all pastors, all you do is preach on Sunday. I'm not saying that you don't got your engagements, even though we ain't gonna go into that right now, okay? You believe what you believe. What I am going to say, though, there needs to be somebody at the church. Why? Because we need the people, okay? People need access to go and get that connection to God. They need to be able to be face down on the altar, okay? 2, the war or battle is at the altar. The people need access to the altar if they're going into war. If you can't get to the church, you can establish a personal altar wherever you at. Set it up. Set it up. Keep your fire going, okay? Keep the fire going. Then, house of prayer, right? Not only does the house of prayer need to be at church, right? So let's say you done worked all week. You done had to battle with your coworkers, battle with your kids, battle with your husband. Hopefully you're not battling with your husband, but if you is, take it to the altar and take him too, okay? Take you and him to the altar, okay? Take it to the altar, okay? The war or battle is at the altar, okay? Churches are supposed to be a house of prayer. We need to be in a space, in a season where we're just worshiping, right? Maybe you don't got a word, maybe you don't got a message for the day, but you done kept your altar hot, so that way when the people get in, it's worship, it's praise that they're hearing. We are at war. There needs to be these churches, the churches need to be fired up with prayer. Prayer, praise. It confuses the enemy. A house of prayer should be also you. Whether you're at work, you're praying silently, you're worshiping by yourself. Whether you at the grocery store, you singing a praise and worship song, you throwing your hand up. I don't know how you praise, but however you praise, whatever works for you, set it off. Our temples are a house of prayer, okay? Then, Nineveh, our focus, using our wisdom, right? This isn't the season to try to convince wicked people that they good. You hear me? This is the season to apply the wisdom. This isn't our season trying to convince wicked people that there's still some good in you. It ain't that season. We been trying to do that. People, everybody don't have ears to hear. So either you realize the time and seasons that we're in right now or you don't. But this is not the season trying to convince wicked people that they're good. I'm going to repeat that one more time. This is not the season to convince wicked people that they're good. I don't care who it is. Your favorite idol, your favorite uncle, I don't care who it is. This is not the season to convince wicked people that they're good. We got to have the wisdom to know that, to know better than that. This is not the time to convince wicked people that they're good. Take it to the altar if it's heavy on your heart, okay? Put them on your altar. This ain't the season, though, to try to be convincing them that they good. They done heard the calls or they missed it. Grace for the blind. Grace for the blind. Everybody, especially if you're called to ministry, if you're called to go out and whatever you're called to do, right? There are some people who not going to see you. And they're not going to see you because God already established and set it up that way. They're not going to be able to see you. God had grace for the blind. I still stand behind and I believe that people know what they're doing. Some people know exactly what they're doing. And it's not because they can't see you. It's because they can. you hear me? Some people know exactly what they're doing. Not because they can't see you, but because they can. But there are some people who are spiritually blind. Not only can they not see, they can't hear either. We got to have grace for them. You're supposed to have grace to people, period, okay? Go from grace to grace. I done heard, I know. My experience in this world today, though, people know what they're doing. These people know what they're doing. Some just genuinely don't care. They want to be wicked. And it's not our season or our time to convince wicked people that they are good. If you didn't get the messages and you didn't apply them, if they didn't resonate with you, you done drew the line on where you stand. And if you standing on the wicked side, rest there, okay? It's a reward for you there. You just might not like it. But stay over there, okay? God would love to welcome you if you personally decide that you want to come on over here to the good side. God will take you through all of that. But this season, it's about a direct intimacy with Christ. And if you ain't heard all the other people, myself included, trying to get you to see why being good, why being righteous is the way to go, you are choosing that you want to be wicked. But you are also showing whoever has come to you that you're not theirs to take care of, to take note of. Because you don't resonate with what they're saying. You don't know their voice. It's not the season to be trying to convince wicked people that they're good. Whatever has been given to you, that's what you focus on. That's who you lock in on. That's who you show up for. I'm talking to me, I'm talking to us, the good us, okay? I ain't talking about the bad us, because we know there's a bad us and there's a good us. So there's good and bad, there's duality to things, you know? Listen, there's duality to things, okay? There's a good us, there's a bad us. Wherever you fall on that line is your business. All I'm saying is there's some people that's for you. That's your responsibility. Those are the good. Or becoming good. That are for you. That's your responsibility. So hopefully you took something from this. It was a lot. It was a lot, a little bit. I mean, it's under an hour, so it's enough, okay? But that's what I got for y'all today, okay? That's what I got for y'all. I think this other thingy that I got on here was for me. But I'll share it with y'all because maybe it'll touch somebody, okay? So what I put was, have you been distracted? God, stay slapping me with that because I need to put that on and off. I don't know why I'm feeling like this, but listen, okay, for real, okay, for real. Have you been distracted? And what I noted was focused on what you don't when you're more than equipped. Hey, there you go. When you're more than equipped with what you have. Made for this, built for more, okay? So have you been distracted? Focused on what you don't when you're more than equipped with what you have, okay? So the world, I know a lot of people have broken away from this, which I know I'm grateful. I celebrate, right? But the world will try to keep you focused on what you don't have, okay? But you're more than equipped with what you already do have, where you're already at. You're more than equipped with what it is that God has given you already. So there are a lot of people who feel like we always need more, we need more, we need more, we need more of this. And you don't. You got God has given you everything that you need. Even when you're in a rough situation and it feels like this not enough, or this can't possibly get me from A to B, or B to Z, right? 1 to 100. This ain't gonna do it. But God has equipped you with what you have. Don't allow your focus on what the world is telling you to have to distract you from what you do have. Made for this, built for more. That's what I put under have you been distracted. So this is the word, is the messages that I'm sharing with y'all today. This was given to me in my time with the Father. And so churches, y'all can sit and process what I said. Um, but we need to get back to the temples, the churches being houses of prayer. Okay, we need to have places, establishments where people can go and put their face on the altar. All week you battle through things at work, dealing with people, wherever the case may be. When you go to church, you can go to war and leave all of those things on the altar. Set it up, line it up with praise, and then get ready to be in battle in the spirit. We are fighting spiritual wars, spiritual battles. Take it to the altar. It says when two or more come together and touch and agree, there I am. Do you know how many people is in some of y'all churches? Do you know the battles that can be won at churches on Sundays? Whenever y'all go to church, do you know the battles that can be won right there in that house? I'm sure there's a witch, a wizard, a devil, a demon that touch their altar every day. And this, what I'm saying, is for us. I'm sure there's one somewhere that touch their altar every day. Why are not the churches open every day for prayer and worship? So witch somewhere that's on that altar daily. You hear me? Consistently. That's the word y'all love, okay? The witch is on the altar consistently. Open the door so the people can have a place to go consistently to pray and worship. Maybe they don't have the space or the environment at home to do so. Open up the church doors. Some of y'all churches is big enough to where if everybody was in war mode, do you know the foundations we could shake in this nation? And I'm saying the good righteous churches, because we know it's some wolves at the top of some of them. Talk to whoever you talk to. Figure out who you're going to have there to keep the fire going. Get the fires going. Keep the fires going on the altars. If you need to establish a personal altar, there's a man named Dr. Uzo Geoff. I believe he passed away. But he has some, I hope I'm saying his name right. It's very possible I'm not. It's an African man. He wears glasses and he kind of looks short, but I never met him in person. But anyway, he has a YouTube channel, okay? His videos are still up, and he talks about establishing altars and different things. And he also talks about why it's important for us to battle or to war, or how to win a war. And it's the altar. But if the doors are closed to the altars that some people go and worship and fellowship, how can they battle? Of course, they need to establish their own. Figure it out. I done thought of different ways to figure it out as well, okay? So, that's the word. That's the message. That's what I got. So, hopefully, y'all go and have a great day, because why not? But, love you later. Peace out. Have a great one.